Good morning, I'm Ruth Williamson with One Man Cups in Sherman, Texas. And today we're going to have a presentation from Polar Ice. We have sponsors, Douglas Distributing, Ideation Station, TechWave, and Beam Me Up provides our coffee. And the reason it's 1 million cups is because business gets done 1 cup of coffee at a time. And I'm going to present a little video here from 1 million cups that gives us a better idea of what's happening with 1 million cups around the country.
One Million Cups is a weekly educational program developed by the Kauffman Foundation.
It's a place where entrepreneurs can come and connect within the community.
There's a real kind of vibe or a real energy here that's about supporting entrepreneurs.
We have 2 presenters each week.
2 entrepreneurs, they come and tell about their journey.
They each have about 6 minutes to present.
You're telling people what you're up to, and you're essentially getting feedback from them.
There's about 15 to 20 minutes of Q&A.
All the questions that they asked us really got us thinking about new ways to think about our business.
It was good just to be able to get that feedback from the rest of the community.
So over the years we've added more cities. It creates a great energy here to see what's happening across the country.
Last question for you, what can we as a community do for you?
So what can we as a community do to help you question is what really coalesces the community around every single presenter.
When somebody applies to present to 1 Million Cups, they're instructed to watch a series of videos through the Kauffman Founder School website.
It's invaluable information for someone who's founding a startup.
I felt better prepared, I felt more confident, and I think a little more focused than I would have been otherwise. Had I not watched the videos of the founder schools, it was a great way to prepare.
I really like the educational component of 1 Million Cups because it does create that open forum.
You're going to hear great ideas that will help you start thinking even more about what you want to do with your business.
What I've learned from other entrepreneurs is very, very valuable.
The cool thing about 1 Million Cups is you're amongst other people like yourself.
Just hearing someone talk about their startup, it just was magical to think, wow, there's other people out there like myself.
Sitting in a room with other people that have ideas too, it helps people to leave thinking, you know what, my idea is worth something, it's worth pursuing, it's worth going after it. Even if it looks like a challenge, I should still go out and try to do it.
The Kauffman Foundation is a nonprofit that actually has built all the infrastructure for 1 Million Cups. They have an annual summit that organizers can go to. All the organizers here are volunteers. The sponsors provide the place, the technology, the printing, and the coffee and the support to keep our group going. What we're looking for are startups and entrepreneurs that want to improve the entrepreneurial ecosystem in the Sherman-Denison, Texoma area and build a community of entrepreneurs that are helping each other succeed, getting to market faster, getting their word out faster so that it doesn't take so long for them to see success. If you will, check in on the 1 Million Cups app and register so that I can send you notifications about what's going on. And today we are going to have a presentation from Grant Krieger with Polar Ice. Did I say it right?
Yeah, you nailed it.
Okay, great. Polar Ice and Water. And if you'll go ahead and come up, you have 6 minutes to talk, and then we'll, in about 15 minutes of questions and answers.
Okay, perfect. Good morning. I'm Grant Krieger with Polar Ice and Water. Before we start, I'd like to thank Ruth and all the other sponsors who contribute to this and make it possible. What the Kauffman Foundation has done to put 1 Million Cups together, I think is really, really valuable. I have been an entrepreneur all of my life, and I think these types of resources and listening to other people is really, really valuable. So I'm really happy to be here. I want to start out by talking about the history of Polar Ice and Water, how it started, and how we got today. So the company actually started in 2006, and when it began, I was not involved. So three people that I know started this business and had basically the intent to lease commercial ice machines to primarily the food service industry and convenience industry. I was involved in another entrepreneurial venture at that time, so I had another business, and in about, I guess it was 2009, I started working with this business, doing some sales, learning about the business. I needed some income on the side to supplement what we were doing. So it gave me a chance to learn the ins and outs. And during that time, I was wearing all the hats. So we literally were out selling a customer. I would order equipment, receive equipment, go install equipment. And I think everyone who's been through that small business journey understands what that's like. The great thing about it is, and the goal should always be, you're learning everything about it so that you can translate that to other people, teach them how to do it, and then hopefully grow the business. So in about 2009, I started selling with them. I guess it was about 2015, the other business that I was involved with was reaching a point where it was no longer viable. It was reaching that point of failure where we needed to address it and say, all right, this is done, and I needed to transition to something different. We knew this business. My partner, which is my wife, and I were entrepreneurs together. We looked at it really closely, looked at the opportunities that we had available to us, and made the decision to buy this business. So we bought part of the business, and we had big plans to recapitalize and relaunch the business. So what started out as Polar Sales and Leasing in 2006 looks very, very different today as Polar Ice and Water. The name's really close to the same, but it's been a lot of changes during that journey. So we bought the business in 2016, and at that time had big plans. We had a list of services that we were going to offer because we knew these things. And as we went through the process of going into these different lines of business, some was related to restaurant equipment because we were already in those spaces. They were aligned with the services and products we were already offering. So it was a natural fit to go a little bit deeper in that space as customers demanded from us. Throughout the course of, I guess, the first 6 months to a year, you learn a lot. So you're always getting feedback as, okay, this is working. We're getting some business from this. Is it good business? Is this business that we want to continue to pursue? So there were a lot of tough decisions during that year. And I think the most difficult thing for us was, you're so decided on something that you think this is the best route or this is the best plan or approach for a business, and you realize that maybe you weren't right. So I think for us it was being willing to set aside those egos and accept the fact that we needed to maybe cut this and focus our efforts somewhere else. It was difficult, but that's what we did. So we focused our business on 3 primary services, and they're all related to ice and water. We retain the business of commercial ice machine sales and rentals. So the service we provide there is ice machine rentals to whether it's a small office up to large manufacturers, still in the food service space as well. And we provide a solution for people. We make it easy and affordable for people to provide ice and water to their employees and guests. And we always do that in the most sustainable manner possible. So as we're moving forward, technology changes a lot. And is that time remaining?
1 minute.
Okay, so that was a little faster than I expected. Essentially, our services now, bottleless water coolers, have revolutionized the water delivery business. Okay, so technology changed where as ice and water historically had to be delivered through packaged ice or bottled water. That's changed now, and equipment is available so that you can use a source of water that is already located in the business, purify that using the technology that we have, and provide that service in a more sustainable manner. It's more cost effective, it's better for your employees, it's better for your bottom line. So everything that we do is, there's a service that's required. It is not threatened by a sale on the internet. It's important that everything we've focused on and put energy into has some longevity. So we've had to make those, we've been thoughtful about those decisions and how we are approaching the business to make sure that it's a service that will be demanded in the future and won't go by the wayside in the next year or two.
So one of the things I heard you say is, and we all go to market with our big idea that we think customers want. And some of that may be true, but you're listening to your customers and you're looking at your demand and you're looking at your profitability to actually figure out where your company needs to be. Can you talk a little bit about how you identified those discoveries, made those profitability analysis? Is it good business? And then how did you optimize so that you're looking out there at the actual demand and trying to fill those niches and stay with your criteria where you're not replaceable by online ordering?
Okay, so it was. I think there's always this, as an entrepreneur, a small business, when someone comes to you and says, "Can you do this for me? Does your business do this? Can you provide this product or service?" When it's close to what you're doing or it's near that space, you're very tempted to chase that. And so for us, it was we were in commercial ice machine rentals, so we were in a lot of restaurant kitchens, bars. We're talking to lots of these people, and they would ask us, "Hey, this piece of equipment went out. I need to replace it. I need a new cooler or freezer. Can you help us with that?" And that led us down the path. These are sales. These are you're trying to keep your company afloat, keep it growing and thriving. So we pursued a lot of restaurant equipment business for quite a while and made a lot of sales with that. But in that space, equipment sales online have drastically affected the food service business. It's become a business where you are typically either really, really big or you don't exist at all. So what we found was we were making sales. We were excited about those sales. We found out that, or we knew that the margins were really, really tight in this space, but we felt like we could overcome it. You reach a point where you look at those sales and say, "Wow, we're swapping a lot of dollars. The cost to do that is not as good." So, in a relatively short period of time, we figured out that this is not where we want to be long term. We don't feel like we're going to compete well in this space. It's not the best use of our personal resources, our business's resources with regard to your people. You only have a certain number of employees, and you want to use them as wisely as possible. They need to create value with whatever they're doing, and it's always a question of, okay, where can they create the most value for the business? So that's we discovered that and sort of pulled back and stopped pushing some of those products and services that weren't as profitable, and it really made us stronger. It gave us another, we say we relaunched 2.5 years ago. In that past 2.5 years, during that time, we have shifted and moved a lot during that time and made lots of those little decisions where we're saying, all right, this is really good. Let's put more resources here. This isn't as good. Let's draw back. So you just have to be aware of it and willing to look at the financial benefit or just the financial impact of those lines of business and make a decision. And you have to do it often. Go ahead.
So on that, talk a little bit about some of the market changes that we saw as we were developing this and some of the new competition that presented itself, which made it a much more rapid decision for us to abandon the commercial equipment, kitchen equipment.
Sure.
We had a new entry of a competitor and it just slaughtered any hope of that. So talk a little bit about that.
So online and
restaurant.
Yeah. So a great example of this is in the food service equipment industry, there are really, really big players. And so a handful of these really large players are analogous to the Amazon of food service equipment. And they're doing, $1 billion a year in sales. With that, they have buying power that you're not going to reach as a small business. You won't last long enough to get to that point, and you have to be realistic about it. So Webstront is a wonderful example. Webstront is a company based, it's a Clark company based out of Pennsylvania, and they recently opened a new distribution warehouse in Durant, Oklahoma. The reason they did that was their online sales, before they had any retail or physical brick and mortar location in Oklahoma, they were doing nearly $10 million a year in sales in the state of Oklahoma. So there are several, I think there are 3 or 4 large food service equipment companies in the state of Oklahoma, and of those, not all of them are doing that much in sales. Some of them are doing $5 million or $7 million, and they have a lot more overhead. So we learned very quickly that landscape was just, it was difficult, it was tough, and you have to be willing to say, this isn't the best path for us.
Right.
We need to go a different
And
path.
I think it's important for people to quantify that. I'm gonna make up wild numbers. But you know, if you've got 2 people spending 60 hours a month trying to sell commercial equipment sales, and you're making a 6% margin on that, but if you sell your core and you make a 15% margin, and it's, you know, it takes that same 60 hours out of your month, then you've got to go to the other, and you have to quantify, you know, that line of business and its margins. And all of us, I came out of very sales-oriented distribution and logistics company. So people get really excited about sales, but you have to do a P&L on that business. Because we used to joke we were wrapping a $10 bill out around every piece of equipment we sold, because we get excited about the sale and we start selling before we really have a deal, and you don't have the numbers, and you cannot chase that. You have to chase what will support the company.
And
so
things that presented during that time is a lot of local people really need our knowledge. They need our information and our expertise.
And that's what I was going to ask, if you're able to create alliances and be an information resource.
To a degree, but understanding and respecting that everyone's an entrepreneur, that for the most part, 90% of the people we deal with are entrepreneurs, right? And so they have to survive, and so they're going to receive the intellectual property that we've spent, a decade developing, and then they're going to go online and use all the information we provided and beat us down to where there's nothing left of profitability. And with all due respect, I understand that they're out to protect their business as well, but if we aren't doing the same thing with ours and understanding that we've developed this intellectual property over a decade of sacrifice and all, then we need to protect that in a different manner. And so that's what part of the being agile and what he's describing has come from, is we were giving so much away for free, and as you mentioned, 2 people, 60 hours a week, chasing one deal, and it's less than a 6% margin, and then they go online to Webstront and beat us down to where we're making $50, and so there was nothing left to do, and so sales is hard.
What is your niche? What are you really? What's your cream of crop? What is your dream what's your bread and butters? This is what we live on a daily basis.
So full service rentals of ice machines and bottleless water coolers.
To what industry?
To any business with, say, 5 or more employees. And that was a big shift also. One of the focuses that we had, or the founders had, and then we kind of maintained until we made our big shift and relaunched, was it was focused on the restaurant industry primarily. And a couple of things with that. I love the restaurant industry, but that's a lot of eggs in one basket.
Very volatile.
And it's a very competitive environment, and it's also has a high failure rate. So a lot of the businesses that you're chasing may have not so good credit, or the probability of their success, if you're talking about a small business, is low. And so now you have credit risk in that space, and you're loading up on it. So by moving more towards professional office environments, manufacturers, really providing those ice and water services to larger number of employees was a better business model for us. And The big difference being, and the focus, and I didn't do a great job of presenting this because I sort of got sidetracked, but the focus is always for us now, okay, what of these products and services, these services that we provide, they need this. So the demand is there. Okay, we look at the demand and say, how does that look? Do people need drinking water long term? Yes. Okay. Can we provide a solution that is easier, more affordable, healthier, safer, all these things? Yes, we can check all those boxes, and we can make a business case for it. So we can go into a business with 5 or more employees, and we can save them money with our service. So now it's a matter of a technology that's changed, specific to water especially, a technology that's changed over the last 20 years, and we're trying to educate people that they have another option. And the challenge with that is making it significant enough for people to say, okay, I'm interested in hearing what you have to say about water, because it's usually, it's often a default, okay, well, we'll just do this with water, that box is checked, our employees are okay, and I don't want to think about it anymore.
So your competitor is Culligan and Sparklets.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a better competitor versus the Webtron. What
it is, and so the drinking water space is extremely competitive.
Yes.
And
bottles.
Yes,
Culligan bottled
and packaged ice. That's also very competitive. But in both of those industries, what they are facing right now is that delivery costs are 2.5 to 4 times what their product cost is. So Ready Ice has gone through bankruptcy. It's gone through really times where it was almost extinct, and it's because of the cost of delivery primarily. The CEO said that their cost of delivery is 4 times the product cost. That math doesn't work. People aren't, number one, if there's a solution available and someone can educate them about that fills that need, provides that service or product, and also saves them money and some hassle, then they can make that conversion. They're willing to make that switch.
Yeah, and additionally, water right now is one of the most at-risk resources that we have as a race, as a human race. It's a global problem, and the abuse that the Americans have on bottled water is becoming more and more conversational in the front end of everything because of our waste. The way that we package, the way that we consume, the way that we waste as Americans is a topic we all discuss now. And if we aren't responsible with the resource which we have, which is the only thing that keeps all of us alive, which is water, we are all in a bad situation.
Right. So you have an opportunity to capitalize right now, for example,
absolutely.
Because Sherman, has just announced changes to their recycling.
That's right.
Business. So there's a lot of opportunity for you to do press releases, videos, and things like that, talking to small businesses, talking to downtown businesses and people that, really could provide water. When I owned a spa, I used to get a lot of criticism because I didn't hand out little bottles of water. Instead, I used glasses.
That's right.
And, had a Culligan thing or whatever, and use that to give to people because I did not want to put 200 or more bottles into the waste stream. They think of their bottle. They don't think how my whole business is contributing to sticking plastic bottles over there in our landfill.
In
because
the US.
most businesses here we don't really have a business recycling program. You have to consciously take it somewhere.
That's the truth.
So that is a big opportunity. It's a big opportunity to partner with the Texoma Earth Day people and to do some education because they're kind of been charged with the city to be a partner to do that. So I can connect you with Amy and, y'all could do some things to talk to businesses in particular because we don't have recycling very well. When I had a big dumpster, now I have the cans and I can get a trash can and a recycling can.
Right.
But I'll have to bring it inside because I don't want people on the street to contaminate my recycling.
That's right.
So, I've got 2 trash containers out there. So that's a big opportunity for you to become the trusted advisors you know, to partner, maybe get on the local television stations and things like that, and use the city to help you do it.
He's been featured multiple times on local television news, especially when we have a break in water lines. People are very concerned. And you know, our city has grown an incredible amount over the past decade or more, and our infrastructure, especially water infrastructure, hasn't been maintained.
Right.
The growth rate is simply just astronomical, and what they are presenting is even bigger. And so as a result, there's just more and more strain on it and more issues. And his company provides additional solutions for that even at home.
Right.
To help your drinking
So
water.
Fannin County, Van Alstyne.
Anywhere, North Texas, Southern.
Well, some of them have more problems than
Oh,
others.
yes, they do. But we don't want to make city officials hate us. But yes, you're right. It's all public information.
Right.
The other great point with that. So first of all, you know, whether or not you care about the environmental aspect of this service and the benefit, it doesn't matter. You know, in the future, if that choice is available and it's better in that space, people will shift over to that.
Well, we know people buy it because there's a whole aisle in the grocery store of bottled water.
Yeah.
So that is not really, we know people want water that they look at and they think is, even if it comes from the Fort Worth public water system and is run through a charcoal filter, you know, they still are buying it, you know. So we know that people want the solution, the demand is there. So you've got to educate them and give them alternatives. So, you know, one of the things that we like to do in our, as part of this process, is to ask you, what can our entrepreneurial group here, what can the startup people, how can we help you?
I think just share the message, you know, and if I've done a good enough job, then I hope I've educated you a little bit on what the services that we provide do. So as you're having a conversation with people, or you, they maybe ask a question of a topic of water or ice comes up, just mention us and, you know, say, hey, I know someone who provides those services and they know a lot about it. They have some interesting things to share. It's really just about, you know, sharing. For small businesses, it's about getting your name out there as much as possible and staying out of obscurity with whatever you're doing, so that you have those opportunities.
Do you have any other questions?
I had a question, just kind of going back to in the beginning when you were talking about wearing those many hats as a small business, and knowing that you had to maneuver and shift through phases to get to where you are now. Did you have a need to like hire marketing specialist or anyone that would help you to get to this point that you're at now?
Yes and no. There's always a need, and Ruth and I talked about this morning. I think entrepreneurs, the biggest weakness they have, or the biggest problem they have, is that they don't know what they don't know. They don't know what their blind spots are yet. And so, you know, seeking that information from people who have experience, mentors, is really, really important. And in that space, there are phases as an entrepreneur that you just need to go seek that information yourself. You can never do everything all on your own, but there's a space where you've got to go seek that yourself, figure out how to, whether it's a marketing plan or, you know, something that you need to put in place, and try and do as much of that as you can on your own. You don't have, you know, big marketing budgets when you start out. You've got to really be creative. And fortunately, there are lots of resources available online and otherwise to help you learn those things, to get you going. And then once you've got revenue, or you have something that can help you justify a spend, then you've probably learned during that process maybe where you need to get some help, seek a specialist, and explore what those costs are. And then you can say, okay, this makes sense for me to spend the money now. I feel like I'm getting a return on these efforts. I can spend a little bit of money, but you certainly can't go and just throw money at everything, or hire people for everything. You'd run out of cash.
Right. And as far as like social media, because everybody's on Facebook, everybody's on, you know, Instagram, how do you utilize that for your business growth, and also being able to analyze the data that comes through those, the usage of social media and online platforms?
So we have a presence on pretty much all social platforms, and I will say that we are very active. We post at least 5 times a week, usually more, and we post in different ways with respect to our industry. Sometimes it's, there are lots of good resources for this, but we try and give some information, try and get people interested in what it is that you're doing first before you're just putting a hard sell on someone, because there's so much content that people consume, they don't want to be sold right off the bat. You want to do something, look at your business, and think of how you can share that in a way that interests more people, and information you can share with your expertise. If you can give, then you can maybe create an audience, and from that you can start to share what your products and services are, and where you can create value for them.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate it, good job. So we'll be back again next week, I hope, with a new entrepreneur with an update. Veronica, you may want to step up and do another presentation. I've got some other people that are considering doing some presentations, but we invite you as startups and entrepreneurs to come and present, to become part of our group, and let's build some better relationships and improve our entrepreneurial ecosystem in Sherman. See you next week. Thank you.